Of all the ways to promote your product, the most effective is word of mouth.
92% of us rely on the recommendations of our friends.
Word of mouth is the most powerful form of marketing.
Nothing influences people more than a recommendation from a trusted friend. Word of mouth.
Oh, and our trusted friend today, Stacey Howard. She is the owner of Mockingbird Lounge, the second-hand bookstore and cafe down at Glenelg. Hello, Stacey.
Hi, Sonia.
Oh, it's always great to get you on board because you also know and are talking to people about what's grabbing them, because Mockingbird has something like the most number of book clubs in the city. Is that right?
Yeah, I think, well, they're still growing all the time. So, yeah, we're up in the 90s now, so it surely feels like the most, I think.
And if you want to start up a new book club, it's great because, Stacey, you package together sort of series of books and you have like 9 or 10 copies of each of them, so people can choose them, book them, and you don't even have to be going out buying books.
No, that's right, yeah. So the membership fee covers the book you borrow for the month and a coffee or whatever drink you like at the meeting. So you meet once a month at Mockingbird Lounge and we've got your next book ready there to go.
How fantastic. All right. Well, you hear back then, and I bet people are not backward about coming forward about books they like or dislike, right?
No. I definitely ask as much as I can because I love to get the range of views out there.
All right. Well, this is where we use the collective wisdom. So if you have read a good book lately and want to recommend it to other people, we all like different types and styles of books. So throw it our way, 1300 222 891. So, Stacey, what's your first recommendation today?
Okay, so we're going backwards in time here to some of my favourite book club reads.
Great.
From years past. So probably my all-time favourite is The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne.
Now, John Boyne was in Adelaide, I think, last year with Adelaide Writers' Week.
Yeah, that's right. I did see him there. He was talking about his newer book, The Ladder to the Sky.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to see him because I loved This Heart's Invisible Furies so much. I would read anything.
What is The Heart's Invisible Furies about?
So it's about a gay Irish man throughout the course of his life, from birth to in his 70s. So you get sort of the last 70 years of Irish history threaded throughout this story of this man's life and his own journey. So this is the first time I think that John Boyne put so much of himself into his writing, because he himself is a gay Irish man. So he said this at Writers' Week. It was the first time he felt, after all these books he's written, to be able to do that, and it was just such a heartwarming book, and it had his humour throughout it. So you get this whole history of Ireland, and you get his story, and it's just such a good read.
Oh, you loved it. Have you gone back? Is it one of those books that you go back and reread?
I definitely will. I haven't yet, but it's definitely on my reread list for sure.
It's called The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. Yes, a person's life, the intimacy of knowing them through the course of their life is a great starting point for a book, no doubt about it. A must-read, we're being told on the text line. This is from Gibbo, a must-read called In Plain Sight by Ross Coulthard. He thinks it's absolutely brilliant. Now, I'm trying to remember this. Is this the one about the UFOs? I've got a feeling it is, or strange paranormal behaviour. When you make your suggestions, just give us a bit of an idea about it, because no one's going to know whether they're going to love a book or even be wanting to be tempted into a book by just the title. You might need to give us a little bit more about that. But I've got a feeling the Ross Coulthard book is about the supernatural and people who've seen UFOs and things like that. What's your second recommendation for us today, Stacey, in Word of Mouth?
Okay, so Educated by Tara Westover, which is a biography. So that's the first, I think all the others I've done so far have been fiction, and so this is a biography I thought I'd throw in, one that I can definitely recommend.
Who's Tara Westover?
So she's an American woman. She was raised in a strict Mormon anti-establishment family. They didn't trust the government. They didn't trust the school system. They just isolated themselves on their property and did their version of homeschooling. I think they were kind of doomsday preppers, like hoarding petrol and weapons and all this stuff. And what this girl and her family, I guess, but especially her, went through growing up was just outrageous. And obviously this is what the book is about. But she came through it to get accepted to a university in England and to complete her PhD by the time she was in her early 20s. And having come from this family and this abuse and this complete lack of formal education at all, she managed to come out completely different to what you'd expect of someone going through all that.
Yeah. We're talking with Stacey Howard, the owner of Mockingbird Lounge, about her suggestions for word of mouth. Today we're looking at books. We do it each week with books and streaming services and podcasts. Today it's all about books. So if you want to throw your suggestions into the mix, your recommendations, we'd love to hear from you. Mary at Norwood is backing up your first suggestion today. She also loved Heart's Invisible Furies, but added Shuggie Bain there as well. Is that another book by John Boyne, is it?
No, but that's I think a similar kind of story. I think Scottish, though, maybe in Glasgow. I haven't read that one yet, but that's definitely, I think it may be like slightly more harrowing, a bit less humour. And so it's on my list, but yeah, I think that one.
All right. So if you want something
myself up for it a bit.
lovely that's a bit light too, Heart's Invisible Furies is the one for you. Okay. Looking at some of the other texters here, Michelle says, I'm really enjoying Ragnar Jansen's Dark Iceland series. A police crime thriller whodunit series set in North Iceland. So obviously a bit of Nordic crime that we often see very popular on our TV screens, but in the book version. Are you familiar with that one at all, Stacey?
I've seen a lot of these come through the shop. We sell a lot of that kind of genre. That Scandinavian crimes just continues to be popular. I watch that, definitely more watch that, less interested in the books, but I probably would be because I love the shows so much. Oh,
fantastic. Yeah, look, I've got to say I'm always attracted to those too. I don't know whether I've got a dark side to me or what, but I do love them. Anne-Marie's in Glengarry. What's your recommendation for word of mouth, Anne-Marie?
My recommendation is a novel called When Things Are Alive, They Hum, and it's by Hannah Bent.
Oh, now that's a novel I've heard of. Can you tell us a bit about it to give us an idea of what it's like?
It is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful novels I've read in a very long time. It's the story of two sisters who grow up in Hong Kong. One goes off and is studying her PhD in butterflies, and in a particular butterfly in the UK, and her sister remains in Hong Kong. She has Down syndrome, and she requires a heart-lung transplant, but because of her disability, she isn't eligible to get the heart-lung transplant, and so it's very... It raises a lot of ethical issues, but it's just beautiful. And it makes you really stop and think about what all people, no matter who they are, bring to our world and enrich our world.
Oh, Anne-Marie, well, it sounds like it really touched you. It's called When Things Are Alive, They Hum, and it's by Hannah Bent. Thank you for that, Anne-Marie. Yep. This texter says, I just finished The Tiger Men by Judy Nunn. I'm now reading The Confession by John Grisham. I think Arthur's recommending both of those. Certainly Judy Nunn, very prolific author out there, and if you love her books, you always get what with Judy. Another Mary says, Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez is also brilliant. And Hannah on the Eyre Peninsula says, The Same Same Kind of Different as Me by Ron Hall. It's a really great New York Times bestseller about a 1960s encounter between a US Southern black man and wealthy Texas art buyer's wife. It's now a movie has been made of the book, and you'll be able to find that DVD in your local library, says Hannah on the Eyre Peninsula. So that's A Same Kind of Different as Me by Ron Hall. What's your final suggestion for us today, Stacey Howard from Mockingbird Lounge?
Okay, so it's Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese. I think that's how you say it. This is one I read years ago. I don't even remember how I came across it, and it's a huge 700-page kind of epic. It's about these twins that are born in Ethiopia in the 50s in a hospital that's there, and they become orphans from birth. And this is one of those stories where you follow these people in the story, so the twins and the people that are around them, and you get the journey of their life and their stories and relationships. But in this, you also get all the history of Ethiopia and the region from the 50s onwards. And it's also, because it's based in the clinic, there's a lot of medical stuff that's going on it's quite descriptive with that. So, I mean, that's not for everyone, but I really love reading a book where you've got the characters that keep you interested in what's happening, but you're also learning something about the place or about something you would never think about learning about, like medical surgical procedures.
Something that takes you out of yourself or your world anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh,
so
that
has everything. Yeah.
That sounds like a really good one. Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese, I think. I'm not familiar with the author, but it sounds like worth having a go. Cutting for Stone. Monique at Glenelg is recommending Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Graham. She says that's excellent. And, look, thank you to our texter who's come back to give us a broader description of the book that we first recommended today. I've got to find it. Ross Coulthard, it's called In Plain Sight. Thanks, Phil. An award-winning journalist investigates a story largely ignored by mainstream media, but right there in front of our eyes. UFOs, UAPs, flying cigars, extraordinary new technologies. Wow. Phil liked it so much he texted again to give us a better description. So put that one on your list if that sounds like the sort of thing that would interest you. As always, Stacey Howard, great to have you along. Thanks for your recommendations today.
Thanks very much.
Her suggestions, if you were trying to jot them down: The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne, Educated by Tara Westover, and Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese. Bat Brat says, just reading a novel written and set in Adelaide in the mid-70s called Black Leather Barbarian by local author Joe Colella. It's amazing. Thanks, Bat Brat. And Paula in Windvale has given us more detail on that other book that was recommended, I think, by Mary. She says it's called Shuggie Bain. Fabulous, moving, heart-wrenching book. And I say it like sugar. Shuggie Bain. Thank you very much. Another texter says Kate Langbrook has written a book called Ciao Bella. Jimmy Barnes, Working Class Boy. And Eddie Jacku, The Happiest Man on Earth. 3 biographies there being recommended by one of our texters. Really great books, and all available as ebooks. So thank you very much for all your suggestions today. Someone backing up the recommendation from Stacey, Educated too, said they absolutely loved that book too. There you go. Mockingbird, from Mockingbird Lounge. If you haven't popped down there, check in and go and say hello to Stacey. She's got a whole heap of books and she hears exactly which books people are